Donald Trump may soon be facing more charges. And I know what you're thinking. Again, yes again, but this particular case is distinct in a couple of different ways. So first of all, you can file this under the category of this would be state level charges, which are important because his plan with the federal charges appears to be to just wait things out, become president again, and then wipe the slate clean with his presidential powers. In this particular case, he probably would not be able to do that. Also, with the charges we're gonna be discussing here, he might have some company for once. You don't want the president rotting away in jail all by his lonesome. In this case, there might be a lot of people being charged along with Donald Trump. So we're talking here about the Fulton County investigation into the attempt to overturn Georgia's presidential election results in 2020. And the district attorney there investigating that effort has apparently developed evidence to charge a sprawling racketeering indictment next month, according to two different people that have been briefed on the matter. So you've probably heard of racketeering charges on shows, maybe on The Sopranos or something. In this particular case, what do they mean? Well, racketeering is defined as a type of organized crime in which the person sets up a coercive, fraudulent, extortionary, or otherwise illegal scheme or operation to collect a profit. And there's a couple different things that they're gonna need to do to prove that. So apparently, they're gonna need to prove at least 2 qualifying crimes to show a pattern of racketeering activity. And apparently the district attorney of Fulton County, Fannie Willis, has evidence to pursue that on a couple different areas, including influencing witnesses, which brings to mind the apparent focus on witness tampering that we saw in the recent target letter sent by the special counsel to Donald Trump. In this case, you also have computer trespass. So we're gonna help explain where they might be going in a couple of those areas of charges. So first of all, they have the call that Donald Trump had with Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, in which he asked Raffensperger to find 11,780 votes. The perfect phone call, of course. So that seems pretty cut and dried. But then you also have computer trespass. So there, prosecutors would have to show that defendants used a computer or network without authority to interfere with a program or data that would include the breach of voting machines in Coffee County. So basically, a group of operatives working for the Trump campaign that were being paid by Sidney Powell apparently accessed voter machine information and then copied that material and put it on a password protected website so that they and other election deniers could access it and use it in their fruitless efforts to overturn the results of the election. Now, the fact that it happened in Coffee County would normally mean that it's off limits to a Fulton County investigation, but because they're investigating this under the auspices of racketeering, it might be possible for them to include that anyway. We have other updates. And we don't know for sure that this is how these charges are gonna go down. And when they say that it's wide ranging, that this is a sprawling racketeering indictment, we don't know how many people that means. If it's even going to include Donald Trump, it could be 5 or 6 of his campaign aides, it could be some lawyers, it could be people involved in the fake elector scheme or the computer trespassing scheme, or everybody. They could just load up the clown car. We don't know at this point.
Yeah, the reason to call it racketeering is so that it is a collection of different activities and crimes that goes towards the same goal, the same scheme, right? So that's why Trump calls in and says, find me 11,780 votes. Now, I actually think that that's not as clear cut as John said it. I'll explain why in a second. But then you also have the tampering with the voting machines. That's pretty serious. Now, if you're just tampering with voting machines just to have fun, that's one thing. But if you're doing it in concert with other events to try to overturn the election, well, then you have a much more serious crime, right? And then there's a third element here. Part of the reason that these charges have been delayed for a while is because they have been flipping fake electors in Georgia. So you saw fake electors being charged in Michigan. You see Jack Smith has flipped a couple of fake electors in different states on his federal case, and he's a special prosecutor. And now we see in Georgia, they've also flipped fake electors. So these fake electors are very important because those are the guys who were not the electors, and oftentimes not the electors of Donald Trump either. They have slates of electors based on who wins. Whoever wins, those electors go to the Electoral College. In this case, it was Biden who won Georgia. And Trump's team was like, all right, forget Biden's electors who are the duly elected ones. Forget Trump's potential slate of electors. Let's just find other fake electors and have them sign a document saying we're the real electors. Well, that's a forgery, that's fraud. And so that is a big problem to those folks who signed that document, but it is also part of the same scheme, the same racketeering organization, like the crimes that are being charged here. And so when you put all those together, you go, oh, I see, they're trying to flip the election in Georgia. The reason why I said the perfect call, as Trump calls it, is not a slam dunk by itself, is because there is some vagueness in saying, find me the votes, right? For example, if he had not mentioned the number and he had only said it once and he said, hey, are you finding any different votes? That would be okay, I think, right, if I was on the jury.
Did you see Finding Nemo?
That's totally fine. Did you find fraud? Totally fine, right? The reason why it's not totally fine in this case is he says the exact number of votes he needs. And so like if you were trying to find a way for it to be specific enough to count, you would say exactly what Trump said. So that's why it's ironic that he calls it the perfect call, because it perfectly implicates him. But still, find me 11,780 votes. A juror with leaning MAGA might go, well, he didn't say invent 11,780 votes. He just said find them magically, even though the guy just said on the call twice that there are no such votes, right? But when you put that again with the machine that's being tampered with, you put it with the fake elector scheme, and then the jury goes, oh yeah, they're trying to illegally change the votes in Georgia to pretend that Trump won, and that is a massive crime.
Yeah, the point there about putting all of those things together, where there's smoke, there's definitely fire. But we do know that Trump has managed to have more than 9 lives at this particular point in his life and career. So we will see. But you know what this reminds me of, Cenk and John? You know, he was all about lock her up. You know, that karma is coming back on him real swift. He might find himself being the one locked up. And then secondly, for Donald J. Trump, this is all about the attention. He is getting all the attention that he could ever want. And if you want a formidable spin master, you will find one in Donald J. Trump. So this will be interesting, to say the least, how this goes. I think there was a Chinese proverb that says something like, may we live in interesting times. Well, we're living in them right now.
Well, I would tell whoever came up with a Chinese proverb, be careful what you wish for. Okay, and you're right, Nina, on both fronts. He's the center of an attention hurricane, and he loves that. And it does keep him in the press, and he does have a 30-point lead on DeSantis. He does get to paint himself as a victim. The Republicans love being fake victims. That's their favorite thing in the whole wide world. But at the same time, Republicans claiming, oh my God, can you believe the Democrats are trying to lock him up for an actual crime? The crime of, by the way, doing a coup against America. Can you believe that? You guys are chanting lock her up based on, by the way, this same category of law, but much flimsier charges with a lot less evidence and a lot less severe. I mean, the hypocrisy of Republican voters knows no bounds.
I heard Marjorie Greene was one of the first people that was asked for comment after the targeting letter. And she, without taking a breath between it, said, how dare they weaponize the DOJ by going after their political opponents to distract from Joe Biden and Hunter Biden's crimes. Like, she went swiftly from, you can never go after your opponents, to they're only doing it because they're trying to stop us from going after our opponents. And nobody, in her district is gonna have an issue with that.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.